Hello and welcome to Strive Dialogues. Today we have with us Professor Sen, who is from Taiwan. He is the director of Division of National Security Research and the acting deputy CEO, Institute of National Defense Security Research, Taiwan. He is also a visiting faculty at the Rashtriya Raksha University in their School of International Studies and Languages at Ahmedabad. So he shares a commonality with me because I also am a professor emeritus at this Rashtriya Raksha University. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Sen.
Okay, good evening, Lieutenant General Singh, and good evening to the Indian audience. Yeah.
Thank you. This seems to be 2023-24 seems to be the year of elections, an
Yes.
year of global elections, I would say that way. We starting from the west, if you take the United States of America is going to see the presidential elections. Then you have a very crucial election in Pakistan as well, sometimes in November. And you also going to have the Indian elections next year, in the first half of next year. And then you have the elections in Taiwan, which is your country. All these elections, in my view, are going to have a tremendous effect on the overall global international scenario. And to discuss this, I think we couldn't have found anyone better than you to carry out an in-depth analysis of the Taiwan elections. Taiwan has been groping for a constructive policy vis-a-vis the mainland China for over quite some time. There are debates about one China policy also within Taiwan. Amidst all this, you also have trade issues. You also have issues related to recently, which have come up, is the semiconductor industry shifting from the mainland, and then also from Taiwan. There are some movements taking place back to the US. So there has been a quite a upheaval. Elections are also becoming highly unpredictable with all the three parties, major parties. I'm talking of the KMT and the DPP and the
Mm,
TPP
yeah.
fighting a close battle. Of course, the first two are in a very close race. So, what's happening, Dr. Sen? Can you give your opening remarks as far as the election situation in Taiwan is concerned?
Okay. This is my pleasure to introduce Taiwan current election situation to Indian audience. Just yesterday, in Philippines, they have a Nobel Prize winner. She said that the final result of the Taiwan presidential election is very important because it connected to the Indo-Pacific security. I
Okay.
100% agree her point. Uh, but the current election situation right now is still uncertain because although that the presidential candidate of the three party, KMT, DPP, and the TPP,
Hmm.
already confirmed, but there might be the number four or the fourth candidate will appear that Mr. Terry Guo, the former chairman of Foxconn, we know that the Foxconn invests in the Gujarat state, so I think that the Indian people would know that there's a company.
Yeah.
He has made many political move and action recently, and had also
Hmm.
held some large scale election campaign. If
Okay.
he announced to join the presidential election, there will be four candidates, but it will obviously affect the candidate other than the DPP, the ruling party, because even led William Lai. William Lai is a DPP candidate and right now is vice president. And maybe number four candidate appear will make DPP candidate be elected. However,
Okay.
yeah, if candidate other than TPP can integrate and unite it into one group of candidate,
Hmm.
maybe the supporting rate will increase, but the opposition party maybe were not able to win the election. I will raise an example. Because in 2004, We know that 2000 years and the DPP got the power first time, and 2004, two opposite party integrate to one group of candidate, but they did not win the president Chen Shui-bian finally. So uh, the final election result is more than 4 months away because it's next year, January.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and there are still some variable and lack many experience. We know that China will intervene that Taiwan election, and any conflict between United States and China in the Indo-Pacific area, the outcome uh, of the Russia-Ukraine war and maybe the change in the cross-strait relation will also affect Taiwan internal politics, and it will also affect the final election result. And therefore, in
Mm-hmm.
addition to the Taiwan internal political factor and the
Mm-hmm.
candidate future policy, change in diplomatic and the regional environment factor will also affect Taiwan's election. Uh, okay, right now we can check the policy of the each candidate. The
Okay.
KMT candidate proposed he said he opposed the Taiwan independence, of course, and then he also
Mm-hmm.
mentioned about he opposed the one country two system. So you
Okay.
can see that the KMT candidate tried to stand in the middle size, and the
Okay.
Taiwan People Party candidate mentioned about the importance of the national defense, but emphasized that the interaction with China. So
Okay.
it means that uh, he he tried to emphasize the strong defense, but advocate dialogue with China.
Okay.
These two opposite party, but DPP candidate, I think the whole world or the area country were concerned about that William Lai will announce, will insist that he's Taiwan independent. But we can see from his speaking he will follow President Tsai Ing-wen's previous policy of the maintaining the status quo and the
Okay.
so-called the four insects. For instance, one is insects that Taiwan is not belong to China.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So we can see that these candidate China policy are really the same. Okay, no one try to unify with China, but some opposite party candidate will try to not connect it to the Taiwan independence. So their policy may be similar, but they are expressed differently. So
Differently.
right now, at the present, only the KMT candidate had proposed the so-called 1992 consensus, or
Mm-hmm.
one China with separate representation. In Mandarin is 一中各表, one China, but because
Two.
PRC and ROC all emphasize one China, but
Okay.
ROC emphasize that one China is ROC, PRC emphasize that one China is PRC. Uh,
Okay.
but but I think the world will not agree that speaking. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a proposition is more welcome. KMT proposition more welcome by China, which at least recognize the one China policy. Although meaning
Okay.
ROC, I don't think the world will recognize and accept that. And however, China will not give it up to invade Taiwan just because Taiwan recognized one China policy. And Xi Jinping's timetable, because Xi Jinping required PLA to achieve the goal of building PLA for 100 years and the military capability to compete with the United States uh, from uh, will remove the obstacle and to unify of force and try to deter the United States intervene in the Taiwan Strait conflict. This
So,
kind
uh,
of
so,
development will
so,
continue. Yeah.
so, Dr. Sen, going by what you're saying now, that the situation is still very fluid. We really can't predict as to who's the better horse who's going to come up because the elections are still 4 months away. That is one. Point number two is that the policies are almost similar but with minor differences. Although KMT supports the One China policy, but just tell me from your experience, what exactly would be the difference in terms of physical application of this policy should the DPP come to power? Then what is going to be the cross-strait relations? And if the KMT comes to power, what is going to be the cross-strait relations? And thirdly, I don't say that TPP does not have a chance, because most of the writings in Taiwan are saying that TPP has a very little chance of coming to power, notwithstanding that its president or its party president visited China almost 18 times when he was a mayor. But just tell me the change in the policies, major ones, not everything in detail, but major changes. Should KMT come into power? Should DPP come into power? And the outside chance scenario of DPP coming to power.
Yes, I mentioned about that because there's a 4 months away, but we can see that
It's like
Taiwan.
scenario painting. It's like
Yeah.
scenario painting, that should A happen, B happen, or C happen. So let's see what happens if A happens and B happens or C happens.
Okay. Uh, yes, we can see in Taiwan we have many poll and investigation, but all show that the DPP candidate William Lai, his supporting rate is more than maybe 35, and number two is Taiwan People Party. Number two
Hmm.
maybe is a supporting rate is 25, around 25. Number three is a candidate of the KMT. So
Hmm.
it not meaning that the people will support this candidate policy, but maybe because in Taiwan we had a pan blue, pan green, and right now we have white party, and that is
Okay.
this the ideology of the people.
Okay.
But
Okay.
you mentioned about the scenario. Okay,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
mentioned about yes, I very admire you. You notice because
Yeah.
you know that our white party may visit China 18 times. It's very good. But
Yeah.
I mentioned because this electoral campaign, that three candidates try to not so different with other in China policy. We
Hmm.
know that no one will insist that the Taiwan independent, and no one will try to accept that one country two system, because the one
Okay.
country two system in Taiwan supporting rate is very low. So
Hmm.
they run the president election campaign. We mentioned about this uh, high politics issue and try to similar with others. But we can see some impact of election on cultural relation, because you mentioned about that the different party they have a different China policy. At the present, we can see the interaction between two sides of the Taiwan Strait in official still very cold, but in the
Okay.
civilian, in the people, especially in tourism, in trade, or some trade in technology, still very warm and high.
Oh.
Basically, yeah, if the party that advocating cross-strait dialogue, like
Hmm.
KMT or the TPP win, maybe there
Hmm.
will be some official interaction increase
Okay.
between two sides, and it
Okay.
it may return the situation when the President Ma Ying-jeou era. We know in the
Okay.
President Ma, in his final four
In his
years,
time. Yeah.
yet Ma Xi the so-called
Yeah.
President Ma Ying-jeou meet Xi Jinping in Singapore. But
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think
Yes.
in the first 4 years, KMT or TPP president will do this, but maybe they will expect and waiting for some chance. But if this opposition party win, I think there will be no official dialogue or reunification negotiation very soon because Taiwanese voters will not agree this change. But
Yeah. So
yes, yes,
so
but
the so it,
yeah,
so it will be a kind of a status quo. The current situation will carry on if the DPP comes to power or Mr. Lau comes to power. But with the KMT, you see a chance of a dialogue increasing, official to official delegation meetings, etc., taking place. But at the same time, you're saying that the people and the trade relations have remained more or less constant.
yeah,
Okay, okay. So
yeah, uh, yes.
go ahead.
We can, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think if the party that advocated the dialogue with China win, I think that the Chinese leader will take the chance to launch the so-called charming offense or a smiley offense policy against Taiwan, which could
Uh-huh.
lead, maybe will lead another Ma Ying-jeou or Xi Jinping's meeting, maybe, maybe the second
Maybe.
time. Yeah.
Okay.
However, as the interaction between the outgoing president and the new president of the KMT is not yet clear. And on the demand of the public opinion, there will not be much change in cross-strait relation. Because I mentioned about it 4 months away, maybe we can
Mhm.
see that this scenario. But
Okay.
right now, possible is not high. If DPP president is elected, I think
Mhm.
it will basically he will not declare Taiwan independent in 4 years. No,
Okay.
will it openly confront or provoke China because the
Okay.
United States will give Taiwan pleasure. Okay, you cannot change the status course, and then you
Yeah.
cannot provoke China. So
So.
I think it will still maintain the status quo as is a policy, following the
Mm-hmm.
President Tsai Ing-wen, but will
Mm-hmm.
strengthen defense reform and strengthen Taiwan's defense force and cooperation with the ally country, especially United States, Japan, Australia, and maybe India. I think there is a
Oh.
impact to the cross-strait relation.
Okay, okay. Let me move on to another question, which is pertaining to the elections only. I want to dwell a little more on the elections, primarily because I want to pick your mind because you are sitting there. In India, we have a trend of having opinion polls, etc. So, your final word, is there any kind of a trend which is now taking place? If you have to put your finger one, two, three, as who is going to be the first, second, or the third, as per your. This is soothsaying. You are not the Nostradamus, but in your opinion, in your mind, because you are on the ground there, just for the viewers of ours, so that they get an idea who is running just little ahead of the other.
Okay, actually, because my think tank is sponsored by the government budget, I
So
cannot make
you
comment
cannot
to the political
you're
issue.
restricted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So
but
I leave it at that. I won't force you to go beyond that, because once you're on the budget of your government, then of
yeah,
course you cannot disclose exactly what is happening, because you are likely to influence the public in general, because this is on the YouTube, so anybody can see it. So that's I fully understand your point of view. Let's move on to the next issue, and
yeah.
that what do you think will be the approach of the US should KMT come to power?
Okay,
Now, this is
uh,
something you can say so, because that's something which
yeah.
is
Of
it's
course,
a it's a hypothetical thing.
you can see right now, uh, because of Taiwan geostrategic value, and United States are very concerned about Taiwan security,
Hmm.
especially that several years ago, because China tried to use the military, try to use force to invade Taiwan, and then Russia-Ukraine war breaking, and the world concerned about that the China will take this chance to invade Taiwan. So I think the United States factor. to the cross-strait relation or even to the Taiwan foreign policy is a very important factor. I think no matter which party win the election, the United States will continue
Mm-hmm.
to use Taiwan Relation Act. You know that there's a legal act passed when the uh, United States cut down the diplomacy relation with Taiwan, because Taiwan Relation Act is the role that United States sail on to Taiwan. So it's very
Mm-hmm.
important for the Taiwan government to strengthen the relation with the United States as a guarantee of a co-strait relation or co-strait interaction, because interacting with China uh, requires some backup or backing of force, and the
Mm-hmm.
United States is the only country willing
That
to
can
sail
assure you.
on to Taiwan. It's
Okay,
natural to
okay.
strengthen relation with the United States, no matter which party wins the election.
So
The
that's
key,
yeah.
yeah, the key
Go
to
ahead.
to uh, the key to interaction with the United States is to demonstrate our defense determination and security cooperation with the United States right now, and especially under the strategic competition between
Mm-hmm.
United States and China. The United States does not want Taiwan to interact with China too much or even rely on China too much. It will be a nightmare for the United States to leak and the secret of the weapon system and the semiconductor technology still
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
supply
yeah.
to China. I think it will be the United States nightmare. So the United
Okay.
States will maybe regulate it or maybe encourage Taiwan not to close to China, and therefore,
Mm-hmm.
so United States doesn't want conflict in Taiwan Strait, but it also does
Mm-hmm.
not want Taiwan to interact closely with China. The United
Okay.
States opposed any unilateral change for the Test Accord across Taiwan Strait, but it also does not want the coast-strait relation to move closer to unification, and which will affect the interest of the United States. For example,
De- Definitely.
a presidential candidate in Taiwan proposed to change the military service system, and Lab KMT candidate said when he elected, he will change our
Mm-hmm.
service system back to four
Okay.
months. Back to 4 months. You
Okay.
know, we're 1 year and then change to 4 months, and President Tsai change back to the 1 year. And that KMT
Mm.
candidate say, oh, if he elected, you will change it. We're back to 4 months. And then United States concerned about this issue. And then
Okay.
he changed his expression. So you can see that United States, because United States try to protect Taiwan, try to support Taiwan, but if Taiwan people fighting war is low, or maybe you change your dispensation of the service system, of course, there will influence the Taiwan support to Taiwan.
Okay. So fine. That's understood. But I will keep asking you some penetrating questions. And the next question related to the US itself is: do you see a major shift in the policy should the Republicans come to power in US?
Um, uh, I mentioned about that because the United States is the only country sell the weapons here to
Mm-hmm.
Taiwan. If Taiwan military try to keep a modernization or keep the strong defense to China, I think the policy toward United States will not big change
Okay.
because
So
you can see
I'm
that
talking. I'm talking of the U.S. changing anything, any gears. Would U.S. change any gears if the Republicans come to power, or it will remain in same kind of a status as it is today?
yes, uh, our three candidate change not policy not change, but you can see
Mm,
that the United States AIT director of AIT or even United States senior official will say
mm,
no matter which party elected, United
Mm-hmm.
States cooperation with Taiwan will not change.
Will not change.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we are seeing a constant kind of approach from both sides, China as well as the US. So the viewers, I think, let's be very clear that the Taiwan policy of the US, based on even historical facts, is unlikely to see any major upheavals. It will continue. Of course, there'll be some changes in terms of how to deal with the new person who is coming up for elections, or who's winning the election on one side or the other side. My next question to you, Dr. Sen, is what is going to be the impact of Taiwanese election with Indian relationship? How will India-Taiwan relations? Because I'll tell you why I'm asking this question is India has not openly said anything against one China policy. I mean,
yeah,
it has not, but its actions say differently. Like we have very recently banned all laptops and electronic equipments from import. So that means which was the country which was giving us the maximum of these electronic equipment was essentially the China mainland China. I call it as communist China, right? So the people who are going to get affected are the Chinese business houses. So therefore, on the face of it, we don't say anything against one China policy. In fact, there were periods when we said that we will support one China policy, but on ground our actions are different. How do you see the India Taiwan relationship in the
yeah,
future?
yeah. Let me back to the last question because if United States policy to Taiwan change, I think it's because of a strategic environment change. Is
Okay.
the United States and China strategic competition change, and then maybe
Mm-hmm.
will change the Taiwan policy. And then the change in Taiwan-India policy or the relation between Taiwan and India. I
Mm-hmm.
think in Taiwan, the two major political parties have adopted a positive and cooperative attitude toward India, and
Okay.
both presidential candidates had
Mm-hmm.
passed through the India before the
Mm-hmm.
election and then were elected. For example, the President Ma
Okay.
Ying-jeou, before he elected,
Mm-hmm.
he visited Rome and passed through in New Delhi. And then President Tsai
Mm-hmm.
Ing-wen also passed through India and then elected. So I think it's
Okay.
a very good, very lucky example that presidential candidate in Taiwan maybe were elected. I don't know. Yeah,
may,
for the
may,
candidate.
may,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
For the
so so
candidate.
so
Yeah,
yeah.
because
Yeah,
for
go
the
ahead.
candidate, yeah, of a different party in Taiwan, uh, India
Mm-hmm.
is a very important country, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe exchange and cooperation with India must also be strengthened, no matter which
Mm-hmm.
party. Yeah. If the DPP continue to win the power, I think the new
Mm-hmm.
southbound policy will continue.
Mm-hmm.
And the following the layout of uh, EU and American country,
Mm-hmm.
we can see that many industrial of Taiwan withdraw from China and will
Mm-hmm.
be transferred to invest in India. And maybe some
Okay.
of these enterprise will invest Vietnam, but some will visit in India. For example, the first car.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know that the India invite the TSMC invest there, but
Yeah.
TSMC is very busy because TSMC invests United States, Japan, right now in Germany. So very
Mm-hmm.
busy. Maybe India will next country, I think.
Yeah, that was an issue which I think would have hurt India a little bit when they had requested cooperation from Taiwan on the semiconductor issue, and the TSMC could not oblige. Maybe what could be the kind of implication, because we also saw the foreign minister of India giving a statement that India will emerge as the world's largest supplier of semiconductors. Now this is something which is going to be like a bombshell for a number of countries, China, Taiwan, US, whether we have the capability or not, but the Indians have also of late started off very well, especially in the digital sector. So, how do you see this statement really affecting the Taiwan India relations? Your
Uh,
comments on this?
yes, I don't know the detail why the TSMC invests United States, Japan, and Germany,
Hmm.
but you can see that because we're in Taiwan, we can see that Taiwan relation with United States, with Japan, and even with Germany is
Hmm.
interaction
Hmm.
closely. And
Okay.
why Germany? Of course, I think Germany is need the semiconductor technology, and maybe they provide some very good measure or
Hmm.
policy to TSMC,
Okay.
and then invest
Hmm.
there because it is connected to that TSMC policy or strategy. I don't know. Maybe you can encourage your government to close interaction with Taiwan, or maybe provide some very good measure and policy, and then maybe TSMC will invest. I don't know the detail, but
Okay.
you
Oh.
can see that we know that the India Taiwan policy is affected by Chinese factor, but it
Hmm.
will only maintain the current policy direction. I think it's not easy to make major change for India. However, if China-India relation continue to slump, and India want to strengthen your counter power to China, Taiwan
Okay.
and countries such as the United States, Japan, that are closely related to Taiwan behind it, will be India's main consideration for changing its foreign policy. No matter who is in power, Taiwan policy to India will not change significantly. However, the DPP ruling party will not be constrained by China factor, will not sensitive about the China voice, the DPP,
Okay.
and will
Okay.
speed up and strengthen the cooperation with India on security and maybe national defense. We know that between Taiwan and in India, we already have some um, low-level security cooperation, and
Okay.
then
Okay.
maybe people-to-people exchange
Okay.
interaction
Uh,
and personal training and communication. So Taiwan, I think, is less likely to be affected by the change in India policy. But Taiwan, India trade figure are getting higher and higher. If
yeah.
cross-border relation is and China take pacification or united front action against Taiwan, and Taiwan-India trade exchange maybe will be effective. Affected.
Okay. So the final question, unless there is something else which comes up in between, is your final word as far as the Indo-Pacific security is concerned? Changes in the Indo-Pacific security. Your final word. Let's have your views on that as far as Taiwan viewpoint is concerned.
Okay. Um, okay. The election result, no matter who is elected, will not produce immediate and major change. But China might end the current international isolation with Taiwan's interaction if Taiwan's president candidate is that party that advocated close to China. And
Okay.
yes, and even sympathize with Taiwan or pay attention to the Taiwan Strait security because of China possible invasion of Taiwan in the past in a safe country. But change in
Okay.
policy would have a chain effect if this party elected. uh, we can see that if Taiwan lose, it means that China occupy or invade Taiwan, the importance of the various Indo-Pacific multilateral security mechanism, for
Mm-hmm.
example, Quad, AUKUS, Five Eye, their
Mm-hmm.
purpose and function will decrease. At that time, it will return to the Beijing consensus, and the impact will be very huge. If the
Oh.
candidate of each party continue to adopt a policy of being close to United States, but at the same time engage in dialogue with China. The United States stand in the position of encouraging cross-strait relation, cross-strait dialogue, but it does not hope Taiwan will become country dominated by China and then maybe will can be unified. And if United States does not have confidence in Taiwan, it may take a conservative policy and is unwilling to commit to defending Taiwan. And American airline in the Indo-Pacific, Japan, South Korea, Australia, Canada, and other countries will also change their anti-China policy. So Taiwan is the
Hmm.
front line of the resistance from Taiwan. If policy change and capability are insufficient, I think the other countries will be less concerned and willing to help Taiwan. So back to the I mentioned before, why that the Nobel Prize winner of the Philippine expert said that the final result of Taiwan election is very important because it connected to the Indo-Pacific security. If
Okay.
Taiwan be invaded, and then the mechanisms, security mechanism uh, around the Indo-Pacific security maybe will be affected.
Absolutely right. If Taiwan is invaded, definitely the Indo-Pacific security will be up for grabs. There will be huge implications of this. With that, sir, thank you very much. But I somehow got tempted to ask the last question. Today in the news was that Mr. Xi Jinping and Mr. Modi are likely to meet very soon during the BRICS summit. Uh, do you see something happening? Even the US has been trying to adopt a closer relation with the mainland China. Kissinger's visit, then you had Kerry's visit. So there seems to be some approach of a makeup taking place, and if that happens, how does Taiwan fit into it?
I think they have a different intent to take this policy. For United
Hmm.
States, uh, try to contact with China because United States don't want to break in conflict or war with China this
Okay.
time because of the Russia and Ukraine war. And
Yes.
China also don't want breaking a war with United States because he's a domestic issue. He faced many trouble in domestic politics. And then
Correct.
PLA right now, because you can see the Rocky Force commander and commission
Absolutely.
change suddenly. So I don't think that
Yeah.
China right now have a self confidence to win United States military. And then
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know that Modi made Xi Jinping the intent or purpose, but I think also the same. Try to uh, maintain the stability between the India and China relation. And then
I
I
think,
think Xi
yeah.
Jinping also try to maintain the relation with India. But the basic point is two countries need to face the issue of the border. And
I
then,
think,
yeah,
yeah, you're right, Dr. Sen. I think it's the elections of each of these countries which is trying to force them to create some sense of stability so that the elections can go through, whether it
yeah,
is the US or India or for that matter Taiwan. I think it's an overall good for the international relations at this point in time, at least in the short term, to maintain stability so that the uh, elections are conducted smoothly.
yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll take some questions which our audience have listed. First is Rakesh Bhatia. He says Chinese say Taiwan is the unfinished agenda of revolution. Does the US China relation warm or cold a consideration for voters to elect DPP or KMT? If US China are close, vote DPP, otherwise KMT.
Okay.
Now, he's giving a kind of a conditional voting that if US China relations are good, KMT will come to power. If US China relations are not good, then the DPP will come to power. Yeah, your very interesting question.
Yeah, I think Taiwan people, no matter which vote which party he vote, not only concerned about that China's attitude or the United States policy,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe they have different thinking. I mentioned about the ideology, pan blue, pan green, and then United States also mentioned about that no matter which party elected, and then will continue to cooperate with the Taiwan government. And China right now will not mention about which party he like, because just like a spider, a poison of spider. If China say he support the KMT, maybe Taiwan people will not vote to KMT. Yeah. So I
Okay.
think yes, Taiwan
Yeah.
people very very clever. They will see
Yes.
their own interest
Very,
and to
yeah,
decide which party
absolutely.
he voted. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it may have just about some bearing, but there are other issues which are there in national elections, and I think those will also come into play before they vote for any particular party. But yes, they may have some kind of an inclination about international relations as well. To that extent, minor inflections may take place here and there.
Yeah.
There's another question which has been asked by Mr. Vijay Kumar. Sirs, in the long term, does CCP China becomes Taiwan or Taiwan becomes China? Looking at positive and negative in both sides, like democracy on one hand and big country and economy on the other. Yeah. So he's throwing to you a scenario in the long term. Is it likely to happen that does China become Taiwan or Taiwan becomes China? However, you may look at it. Basically, he's talking of one China policy and take the best of the two. Take the democracy of Taiwan and economy of the other country for a overall big power. That's possibly what he's trying to aim at.
Yeah.
Your views on this?
Yeah. We can see that Taiwan is democratic country, but China is communism. So it's a total different in a country system. And then
Hmm.
if China, if PRC continue is ruling by the Communist Party, I think Taiwan people would not like to unify with
Join.
China. Yes, and then maybe mainland China people try to change their political system, because you can see in recently many people because flood, and then their home destroyed by the nature disaster, and they cannot protest demonstration. Maybe mainland China people try to back to or try to run to democratic system, but it's impossible recently. So I don't think maybe some party will emphasize that the final road, the final path of a cultural relation is a unification, but not
Okay.
unification in two total different systems.
Okay.
Democratic Taiwan will not unify with communist China. And then
So you
maybe
say,
if
yeah,
China become a democratic country or system, maybe at that time we'll talk how to unify. Maybe long time.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a very long distant possibility. Possibly, if the governance in China changes to something more democratic, something more socialistic, possibly then you may find some kind of unification moves taking place on the lines of East Germany, West Germany. Some, but here the problem is mainland is a big country, Taiwan is a smaller
Yeah.
nation, smaller
Yeah.
nation. Generally, such a merger is very difficult unless there is a major upheaval in China.
So
We
if
have a
yeah. So if
Yeah. Go ahead.
China force Taiwan be unified with China, so Taiwan's
Hmm.
defense capability and the deterrent very important, because if communist China try to force Taiwan to unify with him, that Taiwan's defense capability very important. Actually, during the President Li Denghui, they have a unification guideline during President Li Denghui, but the condition is if China back to the democratic and freedom system, and then we can talk about no condition and talk about how to unification. But a long time ago. Right now, I don't think that the Taiwan's party will insist that unification with China.
Okay, okay. So another last or second last question. After that, we will call it an end. Sirs, in the long term, does CCP China becomes Taiwan or Taiwan? No, sorry, not this one.
The
Uh,
same question. Yeah.
yeah, no, this one. Sorry. With large economic dependencies between mainland and Taiwan, do you think mainland has overwhelmed Taiwan economically? Large number of boys and girls of PRC and ROC are marrying each other.
Uh,
Your views on this?
yeah. We know that in recent 2 to 3 years, and many Taiwan enterprise withdraw from mainland China because you can see that Xi Jinping passed the law of anti-espionage law or anti-spy law, and then many Taiwan businessmen uh, uh, be questioned by the China National Security Department, and then the environment, investing environment in China is bad day after day. So not only Taiwan businessmen, I think the West country businessmen and enterprise withdraw from China. So the economic dependent to China before maybe higher, about the 40%, but right now it's lower. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I'm not sure the exact number, but
Mm-hmm.
we can see that our Taiwan enterprise try to change their policy, maybe continue set and maintain some enterprise in China, but another bigger enterprise will invest in Vietnam, in India. For example, you can see the TSMC. TSMC had manufacture in Nanjing, but they invest in Japan, in Germany, in United States. And then also Foxconn. Foxconn had invest in Zhengzhou, but right now invest in India. So they
Okay.
already take some different policy. And then the question mentioned about boy and girls marry. I don't know the exact number, but I don't think this right now is a problem to Taiwan because there are many the so-called mainland bride uh, of uh, when Taiwan and China exchange. We have many retired soldier, the old soldier, and to the mainland and marry some China woman. And then right now, I don't think because in Taiwan we have a concept of natural independent. Our young
Okay.
men, they don't like China because China political system, uh, because China lifestyle, something like that. So I don't think. And then right now, mainland student right now is no mainland student in Taiwan studying because China cut this channel. But maybe this year or next year will reopen. But I don't think that is trouble to Taiwan that a young man marriage.
Yeah, you also mentioned initially that people to people contact has remained more or less unchanged, irrespective of any government. So I think that's a very common natural phenomena. We'll leave it at that. Last question before we call it a day. Uh, does Taiwanese people aspire to close the gap of Taiwan's trade given the favorable condition, or they think it is far from reality? I think you've answered this question. So, Vijay, I think Dr. Sen had answered this question. It's a
Yeah,
long distant dream, depending on the conditions of mainland China, what kind of governance is there, what kind of ideology is there. China is too big as of now. I mean, mainland is too big as of now. Taiwan is a smaller nation and a country. So I think it's a very far in the future kind of a scenario. So we will leave it at that. With that, sir, thank you very much. I think we had some lovely interaction, and I once again would request our audience, whether they are on the show or after the show, to please like and subscribe to this channel and also press the bell icon. Do share with your friends there in Taiwan as well this particular program. India really appreciates the kind of cooperation which we are getting from scholars in Taiwan, and I see that you have been part of the IDSA Manohar Parikar Indian Defense institute out here as its member. So that's very nice. In fact, any kind of an academic collaboration is excellent thing. And with that, sir, thanks, and we will close our show by this our last video, which is kind of a thank you video for you.